Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 16 breakdown for the Latin American BT14 regionals that happened online this past weekend. It was over 100 players, and we got this top 16 here. And I know a lot of you guys are just clamoring for some events here in North America for this, for this meta and with these cards. And I know we get that in a couple weeks, but it's been really interesting to see some of these other regions, with Oceania, and also for this one, and kind of how their kind of metas shaped with these new cards. And to be honest, it doesn't seem like there's been a lot of additions with it. Specifically with the ace cards, I don't see them as popular, and they don't seem like they're in the meta a lot. But I will also say that Latin America usually kind of has its own little meta and kind of just its own little thing going on. And specifically, you guys can check out my website, which is linked in the description. A lot of the ratios are really unique. There's some really unique ratios. We're going to go over some of the lists today, and you guys can see those. But I can almost always tell if a deck's from Latin America, because again, they do like to add like these nice little like one ofs or two ofs, like, or this off meta card, which is really, really interesting to see from that kind of perspective. But going on into this event in general, we do have a little over 100 players, and shout outs to Digimon Latin America, the Facebook group, for publishing these lists, because I would not be able to make this video without them. But out of this top 16, we have 5 ShineGreymon, 3 Loogamon, 2 Beelze, 2 security controls, a red hybrid, a Machinedramon, an Examon, and a Hunter's build as well. So and you're going to see most of these are kind of unique in what they are. There's not a lot of like the addition of ace cards for it. We do see a lot of the training options specifically for like the ShineGrey stuff as well, but I think that's kind of unique. I am surprised that we didn't see any copies of Bloomlord, or we haven't really seen any copies of like any like the Greymon toolbox, or just any of the non-shine version of Greymons for this top 16. Those are kind of like the 2 or 3 that I see like very often for that. And additionally, we don't really see like any All Force or Mirage, which I think, depending on who you ask, one of those should be pretty, topping pretty often in these events. And I don't think they have really shown as much yet. So we'll have to see if that develops later as we get some more events. But we're going to go over the top placing list for each one of these archetypes, starting off with our first place list. So this is Martin's list of ShineGrey. And I'll be honest, like, this is, of the ShineGreys we have, one of the lists I don't have access to, unfortunately, but of the other versions of it, this is probably like the tame version of it. Like, it just has like the safe ratios, it has like the good tech cards, it doesn't have any options for removal. It does have just the more consistency with it, with 4 copies of the offense training and 2 copies of the physical training, so just kind of everything else from there. So I think that's very strong for it. But being able to use those to help your consistency go, helps the deck a lot, especially since all of your cards except for like Agu X are multicolored. So because of that, you're able to get all that consistency with you. You're able to find like literally, you just look at the top 2 cards of your deck and you draw one, and then you get the reduction for Digivolving. So all of that seems really good. I know, there was the restriction for GeoGreymon to help tone the deck down a little bit, but I think it's still very popular, and it's still going to be doing well in the next couple weeks. So not much more to say, but congratulations to Martin for their first place with ShineGrey. And the next up we have Loogamon, and we had 2 of them with the same record. So we have Johan's and Fabricio's versions of the list, and honestly, they're pretty similar between the 2 of them. For most, I mean, it is a line that's pretty understood. You play the cards that you get with the archetype, right? With like the Fangmon, the Loogamon, the Black Godamon is a pretty popular ad since it is a dark animal, and the fact you have Rush with it is really good too. And then you have like your Hello, you have your Soul Loogamon, and then also the Chimeramon, 1 or 2 copies depending on who you ask there, but just looks like 1 here, and then your top end. So honestly, like, you don't have a lot of room for choices. I will say that purple usually has some of the best like anti-meta rookies, since we have Psychmon and also we have Gazimon. So if you do want to add those, I think those are what your choices for there. Looks like we also added ShineGreymon Ruin Mode from for this version, for Johan's version of it. But honestly, like, Fenrir is such a good card. It's being able to do all the effects for it, being able to play cards, being able to continue your turn, and in a meta where I think a lot of people are generally playing tamers that set their memory to 3 anyways, it's in a good spot. If we were in a meta where it was easier to choke your opponent to 1, maybe this card wouldn't be as good, since you're guaranteeing your opponent has at least 3 memory every turn. But even without that, I think it's in a really good spot. So, and then like the general cards, we play like our Tamers here. We play our Miss Memory Boost and our Wisdom Training. And again, like pretty similar between the two of them. I don't think that's too surprising for what it is. And I still expect this deck to do, where it's like this is kind of how I expected the deck to do. Like 2 or 3 spots in the top 16, if not more, makes a lot of sense. And getting second, 2 spots in the top 4, which is also pretty impressive, with 2 of them going 6-1 as well. So congratulations to Johan and Fabricio for their finishes there. And next up we have Gabriel with Beelze, which is the original, I don't know, like at least this year, like the purple deck of the beginning half of this year, for being able to just be kind of like the OTK deck and everything else. And there aren't really any new tools from this one. Like this is literally like the newest card from this deck is what? I think this is All-Star deck 10 or before, right? Like pretty close to that. Like it's a good deck. Like it's the ultimate deck. Like you can pretty much buy this deck by buying 2 of them and then getting 2 copies of like Beelze X, right? Like that is it. That is what this deck is. And that's just still very good for what this meta is. It seems it is very fast. And I will say, like in a meta where that is pretty new for us, the fact that people are still trying to find out what decks work and trying to optimize list, playing the old list that was fully optimized in your mind, in a meta where people are just trying to figure out how to optimize their list a little bit more is usually like a pretty okay call. So I don't have much more to say. Congratulations to Gabriel for their finish there. And we had 2 Beelze X's in this top 16, and both of them were more or less looking like this. It's a good archetype. It's got a lot of love and support this year, and it's still being able to benefit from it there too. So that is the build there. Next up, we have Aníbal with their 7th place Security Control, and Security Control did get like a bit of a buff in the set. I think depending, like Aníbal's list is running the Machinedramon, which is not needed for it, but it is like the newest one of our ace cards. I think it's like the most playable of our ace cards. Just the fact that you can recover for 4, but also for 4 you get to get rid of something. So we get to recover 1, and as long as we have like 3 or 4 life afterward, or cards in our security afterwards, we're able to get rid of a rookie more times than not, right? Which is usually the problem card that's stopping us from doing our plays or something. So I do think that's a really good card for the deck and a good add for in general. Even though we play it for 4, that's fine. We also do have like the Seraphimon, so you get to digivolve this on top of now Machinedramon or either one of them, right? But you do get the additional of recovery 1, and then all turns of return when a card's added to your security stack, when your opponent's Digimon gets minus 7k, and this gains security attack +1. So if you have enough memory to like play Machinedramon, keep it your turn, and then go into Seraphi, you can give something like minus 10 or 11k for only like 8, and you get to develop a level 6, which is really strong. So I think that's in its own spot. We also have some Shadow Seraphimon, which means we can digivolve into Death X, which is really nice, and just kind of the rest of the build there. So other than that, it's just like the yellow and purple options and tamers that we've been seeing for a little bit. We do have the Tokomon, which is a new Digi-Egg that does let us draw a card whenever we add something to our stack. Not that we are probably doing that very often, but that could come up every once in a while. And I don't really have much more to say. So honestly, like, with the yellow vaccine kind of being a tangent of what yellow security control is doing anyways, I think that this is a good deck in this format right now too. So this is about here. Congratulations to Aníbal for their finish there. Next up, we have Joaquin with their 9th place Red Hybrid, and I specifically know Joaquin's just been playing this deck for a while. It's just in a really good spot, and honestly, I think it's one of the best decks in this format personally. I did put it pretty high up in my own tier list, so it doesn't get the benefit as much of other decks as offense training in the fact that you do get to find your tamers a little bit easier, and I do think it's better than Red Mem Boost more times than not, but it doesn't help you digivolve up your tamers based on it, because it's only when you digivolve a Digimon and not digivolve off a tamer. That's kind of just how it is. If that's not how the ruling is, let me know, but I'm 99% sure that you can't do it when you're digivolving a tamer, only like when your Digimon digivolves into another Digimon. But anyways, I think it is a good deck. I think it's very fast, very aggressive, kind of the same thing as Beelze X is, where in the first couple of weeks of a format, people are playing new stuff, people are playing unoptimized lists because they're still trying to figure out what the best ratios are and what works for them. And being able to play a really fast and pretty much already optimized aggressive deck or OTK deck means you do get a couple of wins just because your opponent's deck is a little bit slower than yours at times. So I don't have really much more to say. I think this deck is still in a good spot, and congratulations to Joaquin for their 9th place finish here. We have 3 more lists for this one, and we're kind of getting into the more unique stuff towards the end here too. So we have Hugo here, who got 11th place with this Machinedramon, and it's the Vmon Kaisernail version of the deck, which has pretty much existed since like set 3 or 4, essentially since like Kaisernail and Vmon. So like set 3 or 4, right? I guess it must have, like, Machinedramon had to exist too, right? Regardless, it's just like the idea that we can use this, like, one, this is really good at like just chipping damage, which is really great, and just the fact that additionally, like, this Machinedramon from EX1, you just play it from your hand. You do have to, it's still like a really hefty cost with all the cards in there, but if you're able to get it on the board and keep it onto the board, you can use some stuff with Kaisernail to play it again. So like, if you digivolve into a Chaosdramon and then you Kaisernail the Machinedramon underneath it, you get to use its on-play effect, which means you get your memory back. So that's kind of like the way that you use this card with the deck. You just kind of have this like additional, like, I don't want to say like cheese, but it's kind of cheese at times. Just circumventing, like with Vmon. Again, like, this lets you just attack and draw a card with jamming, which is good, which means your opponent usually has to answer it. And then we just play a bunch of our cyborgs and stuff in that level 5 spot. So we don't even play any level 4s in this build. We only play the Higurumon just to get the additional cycle for cheap, which is nice, and then just kind of go from there. We also play like the Ragnalordmon, which makes sense because we are popping out a second like level 6 out, which means we can Ragna, DNA on top, and it's going to be like some really tall stacks anyways. So kind of unique build in the sense that, I haven't seen it in a long time. It's a known archetype, but I think most people have kind of written off as not super viable right now. So it's kind of interesting to see it come back in this way too, which is really cool. So congratulations to Hugo for their finish with this build here. Next up, we have Kevin with Examon, and I've been seeing like the whispers of Examon. I did have another event that I covered on my website that got an Examon in their top finish as well. I think the biggest issue, like, add is what the Imperadramon Dragon mode, which is a level 6 that's blue and green that we can play for cheap, which is just 7, but also means that you can get some removal from it, which means if you build 1 stack, you can use this as a card to help us get into our Examon at times. Sometimes you can just play the card, you get the interaction with it, and then you get like the Examon, like, you can just digivolve on top of it too. So like there's just some stuff you get to do with it. Like, this is probably like the second most used. I mean, I guess Bloomlord has their Loogamon, but anyways, like, this is, I think, a good card for the deck and helps out a lot. Other than that, it's just kind of like the general blue-green stuff that we've been seeing with this deck in a long time. But I do think it's really cool to see Dragon Mode kind of breathe new life into this deck as well. So this is Kevin's list. I don't have much more to say, but just congratulations for their finish there. And then finally, we have, I'm going to mispronounce this, but Faridh with their version of Hunters. And this is also like a really unique list. I've seen like the generic version of Hunters dozens of times in these top cuts. They're generally the same thing, and they've added some of the kind of tamers on the other side of the hunters. So we have like the Aru there, which lets you, if you guys don't know, because I honestly had to remember what these guys did. So but start your main phase where you can place 1 Digimon of save and its text from your hand underneath it to give something minus 2k for the turn, and it also has like the your turn when digivolving. And then also Ryoma, same kind of thing where you can but at the start of your main phase, if your tamer has 2 or few under this, you get to place another one with save under your trash for free. So you get like a free card underneath it, so you don't have to like lose resources from it, and then has the same your turn that the rest of them do. So I think that's kind of nice. We are playing a little bit more of the cards, including like the Yasamon, which does help you like play one of the new tamer, like the Aruru or the Ryoma. You can't digivolve this into the Arrestodramon superior mode or into the Ostamon as well, because it has to be a red, black, or purple specifically, so you do have to be careful a little bit of that. We're also not playing like the Watchmaker, which is interesting. Like, it's a unique build of the deck, and I think that I could be caught off guard personally because of it too, with just not expecting the other half of it, even though it's kind of like the other like 20% of it because there's not a lot of cards in it, but it's a unique kind of package for it and it's an interesting build. So congratulations for their finish there. And that's going to be it for this video. Again, this is a top 16 for the Latin American event. If you guys appreciate these videos and want more BT14 content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. I have a bunch more content going on, and we do have more events here, especially with North America getting a regional in a couple weeks, and I'm really looking forward to see what ends up on top for that event too. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it. Damn it.